Hey, what if we could make your paintings better in just a few minutes? I think if you're an artist of any kind, you do drawing, you do painting, really you do photography, we're going to make your paintings better in just a few minutes. And that's what we do here on Feedback Friday. Today, we're going to teach you also a technique called blocking the exits. And we're going to review 6 different paintings and we're going to see if we can make them better. Let's take a look at some of the paintings we're going to do right now. Ooh la la. Oh, that's lovely. What else do we have? We have a wonderful dog painting. What we have a mountain sky. Well, that's very, very nice. A portrait, beautiful portrait, and a horse and baby horse. Okay, and then we have this gorgeous water scene, and we got a little bit of everything. So when you watch this, what you're going to do is you're going to start seeing problems in your own paintings by looking at other people's paintings. I guarantee you this is actually easier when you're looking at somebody else's work being critiqued than your own, because when you're getting your own work critiqued, you're like, la, 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 la. You don't want to hear it, right? So I encourage you to ask yourself when we're going through this process, what do I need to change? What am I consistently doing? So a critical part of learning to paint is getting feedback, because we can't see our own mistakes. We can't see what is drawing the eye or distracting the goal from the painting. And so for me, I really like it when somebody critiques my paintings, and I love seeing other people's paintings critiqued because it just makes me better. I am so defensive otherwise, right? Like, oh, I'm making excuses. So you can see more clearly through the eyes of others. Let's get this show officially started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhoads.
Welcome to Art School Live. This is Feedback Friday. We're here every weekday at 12 noon Eastern with free art lessons, with art marketing guidance, and with feedback. Mondays are art marketing Mondays, Fridays are Feedback Fridays, and I have guests every day during the week. We started this with COVID, and we have continued every weekday since then. I think I'm not worn out yet, but maybe one day. Anyway, as the publisher of art magazines and newsletters and a frequent competition judge, and I coach artists, I'm an artist myself, 2 decades of painting, I might be able to see some things that I can help you improve or help the people we're critiquing improve. And at least I can give you a different perspective. Today, we have a few brave souls submitted their paintings, and so we're going to look at those, and we have a couple of rules. My rule for critiques, we had somebody do critiques one time at our plein air convention, and I got a lot of complaints about this person. And I said, what was the deal? And they said, well, they were not encouraging. You got to be encouraging. And so here are my rules, right? Always be encouraging, be kind. You can be constructive. You can find ways to tell somebody that their painting needs work, but you don't want to tear them up. You don't want to destroy them. You want to give them hope. You want to help them through it. So remember, we're all at different stages, right? I had an early art instructor who told me, Eric, you really should give up painting. You're not ever going to be good at it. And it devastated me at the time. And I gave up for a long time. It really wounded me. And so I had finally had the courage to come back. I got shut down a couple other times, but I didn't stop. Finally, I found somebody who could teach me, right? But I couldn't paint. And I had this belief that you needed natural talent, right? That you were born with it. And I convinced myself that I just didn't have what it takes. Do not do that to your mindset. Do not do that to yourself. You can do it. You can succeed. You just need great teachers and great practice. And even the bad days are fun because at least you're painting or drawing, right? So nothing here is personal. Everything is my opinion. And I am not here to hurt, only to help. And my goal is to always try to find something nice to say, even about every painting at the start. Now, it's going to be hard for me to provide feedback and read your comments, but I'll try. Anyway, keep it positive. That's what we do here at Streamline. We do events, conventions, retreats, and the whole goal is no drama. And everybody has to stay positive, right? We want to be surrounded with positive, fun people. That's what this is all about. This is a journey. So you're going to see things that I don't see, but be kind in the comments. And your experience will also help others. So make sure you you go in and you be nice, you find something positive to say, but you always say, here's what I'm seeing. And that way, we're all learning together. Now, if you want to submit paintings, just go to streamlinepublishing.com/feedback. And if you make any changes after hearing my suggestions, please email us the after so we can show it to everybody, show you how you've improved. Are you ready? Okay. Well, we're going to go over to my tablet right now, and we're going to see if we can pull that up. And we have this beautiful, beautiful painting, and this one is anonymous. Sometimes people will say who it is, and some people will not. So first off, let me say that this is a lovely, lovely painting. We're going to go to the black and white version right now on my tablet. So I really like this painting. This is really, really swell. And there's a few things that I really like about it. First off, I like the fact that compositionally you have a lower horizon here rather than putting things across the middle. And I like that. I think that's really important. You did a good job on that. See if I can get it back. I like the brilliance of the light. I think that overall there's a contrast issue. I do think these clouds, whoever this is, anonymous, these clouds are amazingly beautifully rendered, and so really, really good job on that. But what I am noticing is that the values are a little bit out of whack here. So let's look at this transition right here. The reason I like to look at black and white is we have the edge of this tree here, and we have this tree back here, and they're both, if you squint and you look at those, or you put your value specs on and you look at those, they're the same value. And so this tree needs to be somehow darker to separate from this tree, or this tree needs to be lighter. Now, you have a dark tree here. If that darkness were up here, that would help things recede. Because the way you want to look at it is if you're thinking of perspective, right? And you're trying to make things recede in the distance. See if I can show you how to do this. So you want, your darkest darks kind of in the front, and then you want a variation on that dark right behind it, and then you want a variation on that dark a little bit lighter in there, and then your dark, it's still a dark, but see how it recedes? And that's what you want to accomplish. And so when we put the darks up in front, so I'm going to get rid of all my marks here, and I'm just going to show you what would happen. So I'm going to take these darks here in this, oops, hang on a second. I'm just making silly marks. Well, okay, this isn't working for me, so I'm just going to go in and find a good dark. I'm going to take this tree up in the front, and I'm going to just get some darkness on it to separate it. Now, trees are oftentimes silhouetted, and yes, you do want to put light on the trees. And when we look at the color version, it's going to be different. But I'm just for sake of a big shape, I'm just going to color this in and give you a sense of big shape here. And what will happen is when you see this big shape in here, all of a sudden this is going to come, all of a sudden it's going to feel like this has gone far forward. Do you see how that's doing that? I need a little thicker brush here. I think I'll do that. And so what happens now is this already, now this reads like this is the darkest dark here. Let me just get back to here. This is your darkest dark. This is your second darkest dark. And then this is kind of a little, this recedes in here. This is probably needs to recede more in here. So I think that just doing that alone will help it a lot. Now, compositionally, I think this is pretty good. We got something going on here, and I'm not exactly sure what we have here, but this is kind of a bowl right in here. Smiley face. And so we've got a little something. We want to look at this and see if we can figure out how to make that a little stronger. And the composition, the question I have is, where do you want the eye to go? Right now, the eye is going here, and that's okay. but is that what we really want? And so let's go to the color version because that's going to change everything. So we're going to go back here and go to the color. That's so beautiful. Okay, so really, really good job on the light and on the clouds. And I'm just going to see if I can get a little better brush in here. Let's see here. Okay. Whoops. Okay. So let's see if we can play with this. The question I had was, where do you want the eye to go? Well, you have, first off, let's kind of restate this dark. So we're going to get some of this dark on this tree. Actually, we need that to be a little darker. So let's get this darker still and get this dark in here. This brush is blending a lot, but so now we get that dark in here. And I would probably take these trees in the distance and I would just blue them back just a little bit. Because if you put blue in the distance, it kind of reads blue, you know, mountains are blue, right? So it doesn't have to be blue. You can put a bluish green in there, but if you want to do that to make it recede, that in theory will help it create a little distance. And then I think this tree on the left over here is just a little bit too dark. So we'll probably lighten that one up just a little bit. And that way, this kind of feels all about the same. Now, notice how when I put these big shapes in without a lot of detail on them, it really helps. You know, big shapes really read well. Now, the question is, we've got this person, and the minute you put a person in a painting, according to what Joe McGurl told me one time, is the minute you put a person in a painting, now all of a sudden it becomes about the person. And so the question is, do you want it to be about this person? And so if it is, then maybe what we want to do is draw a little bit more attention to him. So what I might consider doing is I might consider pumping up the light just a little bit more. And let's see if we can just play with that. So maybe what we want to do is, that's probably a little bit too much, but you know, pump up the light around this person. And then maybe silhouette with some shadow all around that. Shadows typically will have a little blue in them. So let's see if we can get a little shadow color in here going. And, you know, maybe get a strong shadow in the front so that this is going to stand out just a little bit more. That color is a little bit too bright, but I think it makes the point. And then now that you've put that color in there around them, they're going to stand out. But of course, you have the opportunity, if you want to have some fun with it, you know, you can put them in a red shirt, a red hat, and, you know, throw some light on the edge of the hat and on them. And again, this is extreme, but the idea is to try and look for a way to, you know, create a stronger focal point. And that way, and you know, these little spots of light just kind of will help bring the eye in. I think that I would move this person. If you look at the tic-tac-toe grid, this is where focal point would be, somewhere in here. So I'd move that person probably to over here, just move them over there. And then the other thing you might want to consider doing is bumping up the light. And so you might consider taking this light and enhancing it just a little bit more, maybe warm it up a little bit, and just get a little stronger light in here. And that just that way, you know, you don't want to put that light everywhere. You don't want to put it everywhere. That doesn't work, but you just get that light bumped up a little in there. And then if you can figure out how to configure kind of an arrow type of effect, let's get the right color here. Not getting it, but get some kind of a way that light kind of leads me into this person. Maybe that light's coming, silhouetting these trees and coming in there. Anyway, that's just a thought. That's just one way of looking at it, but nice job and congratulations. Okay, what do we have next? We have puppy dog. looks like a schnauzer. And okay, so the one thing when you're doing a portrait like this, composition is a little harder to teach, because typically what we do in composition is we look at, is there anything dead center? And there is. There's a nose that's dead center. And so, but it's a little bit more acceptable in a case like this because it's a dead on thing. The other thing is you got the tic-tac-toe grid. Well, you actually have focal points kind of on that grid. I would probably crop this a little differently. I might make the edge of the painting over here, and that way, and then extend this over here so the dog is just a little off center. I think overall, the values are pretty good. The question, I think when you have a dark like this, your values are pretty strong. Your darkest dark is here, and you've got pretty strong darks in here. You got a big dark in here and dark in here. Now, the master of painting dogs is Joanne Manji. We have a video at painttube.tv on this. She's got one that she actually did Allie's dog, and it's really fabulous. One thing that Joanne's really good is softening up these edges. She softens up the eyes, and I think some of these could just stand to be a little bit softer. And then I would look for a way to maybe darken up the background so that the dog kind of stands out a little bit more. I'm going to look at the color version because that'll help us a little bit more. Okay, so color is, so let's just say, let's play the what if game. What if we darken up that background? And I don't know what color would be the best color, but let's just see. I want you to see contrast. All right. I don't like this pen that I'm using. See if I can find something a little better. So just see how right there, if you get this contrast against the dog, how it changes a lot. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do a high key like you've done. That's another option. And that's fine. But see, if you just get this contrast against this dog, now all of a sudden the dog really stands out. This is Deborah Seitzer in Texas. Congrats, Deborah. That's really nice. So this is one thing you can do, is just kind of bump up the contrast. I think I would darken the eyes just a little bit more, and maybe look for a way to emphasize your values so that you're creating a little bit more form. And I'm not a dog painter, but I would say, make sure you've got some good darks. Your light appears to be going straight on. And I think typically what you want to do is you want to have one side be like a portrait. You want one side to be lighter and one side to be darker. So if that were the case, then maybe it'd be a little bit more like this. And then over here, it might be, well, let's just see. Might be a little brighter on one side. That's not really showing up. But I think the most important thing here, the one thing I'm seeing, is just keep it soft, right? Everything needs to be soft because fur is soft. And if you have any hard edges, and some of these edges in here are a little bit hard. And if we can make these a little softer, I think. But overall, I think it's really lovely. I think you've done a nice job. Okay, we're going to move on because I can't help you too much with that one. All right, what's next? Ooh, we have this one. This is Selina in Deutschland. Willkommen, Selina. Wie geht's? All right, so we're looking at the black and white version of this. And the one thing that, first off, I love this painting. I think it's really cool. And I had, for a minute, I was like trying to figure it out. And it was like, a lot of it blended together, because if you squint your eyes, the values are all very close. But it's like, is that a mountain with a waterfall? Is that light? I had a little hard time discerning what that was. It looks like it's on watercolor paper. And so, but there's something really nice about it. First off, let's look at composition, right? Composition, nothing is dead center. That's a good thing. And if we look at the tic-tac-toe board, we have this bird is kind of maybe the bird would be a little stronger here or stronger here, probably here, but it's still pretty strong where it is. It fits pretty nicely, but it's, you don't have to follow a bunch of rules. But the one thing I noticed is that I would say that the darks probably are a little out of whack on this. So you've got some good darks started here, but because this is really all about the eagle or whatever kind of bird it is, I would probably just look for a way to darken that bird just a little bit more so it stands out just a little bit more. Now all of a sudden that becomes all about the bird much more, and you have an opportunity to do that. Now you have a lot of darks down in here and here and here, and let's you've got your darks up front, but they're a little spotty. Always think about big shapes, right? So what could you do? Now this is very misty and it's very watercolory, and so it's probably fine, but maybe what I would do is look for a way to get, a good big solid shape here and in the front. And just by doing that, it helps it improve just a little bit. And maybe get some good darks on these mountains. You've got, it's kind of at the base of the mountains. And then of course you would soften this up. But the idea being that you just want to make sure you get some good values stated in. I also am, from a standpoint of what am I looking at, I'm looking at a really cool scene. I know that, but my eye kind of is like drawn into the waterfall and the bird. And so I think it's a waterfall. So I'm kind of drawn into here. I like the activity here, but I would ask myself, where do I want to really draw the eye? You've got a lot of spots of light, you got a lot of things going on. And if you really wanted to draw the eye to the waterfall, then what you might want to consider is just kind of maybe take some of this other light and mute it back just a little bit, and maybe not too much, but just enough so that this makes that stand out just a little bit more. And that might help it. And then get some good contrast on those edges so that you can really tell what's going on there. But I think, overall it's lovely. Let's look at the color version. Let's see here. I really like this painting a lot. And quite frankly, it doesn't need much. It must be a watercolor. So I would be careful about these little spots of white that are showing through. They're just drawing the eye, and I'm not sure they're adding much. So I would probably mute those back a little bit. You've got a spot of light that's coming in right here. And it's like, why do we need that spot of light? Is that, if we're trying to draw the eye in, then maybe what we do is we look for a way to get maybe we do something like this. I'm not happy with this pen. Let's see if we can figure out how to do this better. Well, that's a little bit much. All right, so maybe you could draw the eye in a little bit by putting some light in here, and maybe it's kind of drawing you in that way, kind of an S curve type of a thing. And then maybe you even look for, how do I pump up this light and give it some warmth, and really pump up the light in a couple of places where you really want the attention to go. You don't have to do it everywhere. And that way the light will kind of carry you up to the bird, and then maybe even just put a little bit more light on the edge of the bird's wing here. And then as I said, darken that bird, and that will help it really stand out. So, you might not want that light on there. Maybe you just keep him in silhouette or her in silhouette. And I think then again, get some of your darks in here, because all of this is just supporting cast anyway. This is the bird is your star, the waterfall is your co-star, and then everything else is supporting cast. And so if you can kind of get this so that it's not drawing too much of your eye, I think that you'll be happier with that. And you do have some values back in here that I think you could blue this up just a little bit. Maybe darken the front here and darken some of these spots where you want to create some contrast. But I think, really nice, very nice. I like it. And I like this fog in here. I think that's really terrific. Okay, we're going to go on. Next we have, this is, I don't know who this is. This is from MK from Texas. Okay, MK, I'm thinking it's a watercolor portrait. I think you've done a good job with it. I think it captures the spirit of this person. So ask yourself this question: where is the darkest dark? And I want you to look at it and ask yourself, where's the darkest dark? And the darkest dark is this big shape right here. So we have this dark here, and that's really, in this high key portrait, that's drawing the eye, that weird shape around his neck. That's his t-shirt. And then of course the eyes, and the eyes are correct. I would say that what I might do is look for a way to get a little bit more form in this. We have a great video we have a lot of great videos on portrait painting at painttube.tv. And you might be able to get some ideas from that. But the idea here is that you want to create enough value difference that there's some form, right? And just work on your form just a little bit more. And again, that's kind of depending on if the light was flat, but you've got some good darks in there, but if you can enhance the form on some of this, it just will help tremendously. And just see if you can improve on that a little bit. It's going to be, in theory, it's going to be a little darker on one side than the other. This is too dark here, but the idea is get that sense of dark, and this hair would be dark over here too if that were the case. And you've got some light coming over on the other side, and so you have an opportunity to kind of get this form in there. And then what will happen is when you pump up that light, you can really pump up that light and get the light on the side of his head and on his ear and the side of the nose and so on. And so you can kind of make it a dark light Rembrandt-esque portrait. So keep an eye on your light. Compositionally, I think it works. I would say, it's dead center, but that's okay in this case. I think it's pretty good, but I just think your values probably just need a little bit of work. And so just kind of practice getting your values right, and making sure that you're sending the signal of the ball. I don't have my ball handy, but basically, you've got the light coming in from here, and then everything gets a little darker as you get a little further in, right? And darker still. And then of course there's a shadow. So and then if you want this light to stand out, again, the other thing you can do is you can think about, okay, maybe we put a darker background on this side of him and keep it lighter on the darker side. And that's an old portrait technique that works pretty effectively, and doesn't have to be all light in there. It could be lighter. It could be still dark but lighter in there, and see how that makes that stand out considerably. Let's go and do color. All right, MK. I think you've done a pretty good job here. I think just that's what I would look for is let's look at light. Light's got color, it's got yellow in it typically, or it's warmer. And so let's see if we can pump up the light. Now, if this is watercolor, it's a little harder to control. And you're letting the paper do a lot of the work, but look for a way to really pump up that light on this side of him. You have, you have the bright hair, and you just make sure it's catching light, and then look for a way to really enhance the darks over on this side of his face, and get that hair color dark in there. I have this portrait I did of my dad, And I didn't do the hair color dark over here. It's been driving me nuts for 30 years, 20 years. And so again, work on form and, work on extreme light. If this is where the light is, so try to make sure that that's kind of radiating out and that you're creating that sense of form. Okay, that's a beautiful job though. I like it. You should be proud of that. Okay, next we have 𝗲𝗄𝗄𝗃. All right, now this one is from, whoops. This one is from Dorothy in Nevada. I was going to say Dorothy in Kansas. Okay, so Dorothy, this is really, really cute, and it's sweet. It makes me go, oh, that's really nice. I think that Dorothy, I think you've got your overall drawing is pretty good, your anatomy is pretty good, but there's a couple of things that I think could improve it. There's a lot of, well, first off, let's play the composition game here. Compositionally, we're good. We're in a good shape there. Let's look at the tic-tac-toe board, and okay, you've got your focal point right here. Good job. You've got a secondary here, and you got nothing in these places. That's fine. So I think that's overall, that's good. I would say that the common problem that I see a lot of people have is the same problem that we've been pointing out earlier, and that is that there's a little bit of a lack of form. So you want to look for a place where you can really pump up your form and get your good darks in, and try to figure out how to find the form in the horse. Its underbelly is going to be warmer, right? This is all going to be warmer. I mean darker, and look for ways that you can exaggerate that form, because exaggerating the form is what creating the sense of light is all about, really. So you're getting, you're trying to figure out how to get that light in there. And then the other thing that I would say is that the shadows are a little wonky in this. And what I would probably do is look for a way to these shadows are just kind of doing this, right? I would just look for a way to put a nice, big, strong shadow underneath the horse. And you can make up shadows and they're going to read pretty well. Just that alone helps. And then you tie these darks together with this horse down here. Maybe you have just a nice shadow in front. That just makes it contrast a little bit more and stand out. Now, the other thing I notice is that I want to talk to you guys about this. Here we got a tree, we got an equal space, and we got a tree, and we got an equal space, and we got a tree. That is typically a little bit of a sin, right? And because what you want to do is group things together. Trees don't grow like that. Trees grow like this. There's groups together. I would look for a way to bring this tree over here and make it a little closer. Bring this one over here and make it a little closer. Maybe you still have one down there, but do things in 3s or 5s, never 2s. Typically, a lot of people will do a big tree here and a big tree here, and that's, you're looking for unequal spaces. I would kill the tree in the corner. Always be careful with corners. They just don't, it doesn't add anything. It's subtracting. Now we're going to look at the color version, see what we can do here. Okay, I think this is watercolor. I can't tell for sure, Dorothy. So what we have here is okay. We're gonna go back in here. Keep your shadow color kind of cool, right? Cool colors work really well for shadows. So we're gonna go back in here. We're gonna shade in some of this stuff. And by the way, when you're doing grass or whatever, you can. This is going to really help this painting a lot. You can put, just at the edges, you can put some indications of grass just where the contrast is the highest, and that kind of sells the whole idea of the grass. And if you want to make this horse stand out, you've got a lot of light over here, and I'm not sure it's helping you. So I would probably look for a way to mute back that light in this green. I like to put reds in my greens. It makes my greens just a little bit more pleasing. I would probably connect this horse. I maybe bring the heads a little closer together so that they're kind of almost touching. Not quite. That's pretty close. And then what I would also do is I'd ask myself, what do I really want to accomplish in the back here? And so you've got this nice tree here. I would just kind of play off of that and just get more brush back in here. And that way you're not drawing the eye too much back there. You can have your trees in here. But, and then I would probably darken this light in here. So you've got this nice brown color. See if I can mimic it. So I would probably darken this in here, just because any spots of light are drawing the eye. Now, you can sometimes use it to manipulate the eye, but I would, just kind of keep it so that the focal point is about the horse, and I think that'll make a difference. Anyway, and like we said, some more darks on this. The color is really lovely. I think you've done a good job on the color. But let's make sure that we've got, good darks like we talked about underneath, and create some form. That's a little bit too much, but create a little bit of form on the edge of these legs so that you can really tell that this is a three-dimensional horse. Okay. Be careful with white. Too much white. Whites typically, even if it's a horse in the sunlight, then that white is likely to be a warmer light. All right. So pure whites are cold, and whites in sunlight are warm. So just see how that warms that up, and you just get that light on there. And then the other thing is, which of the two do you want to call the most attention to? I would think the baby. So look for a way to enhance the baby and make the baby stand out, and that might be a little bit more light. You could put more dark around the baby, so that the baby stands out a little bit more. This just kind of helps it. But I think overall you've done a really nice job in there. I'd probably get these darker in here. Okay. Anyway, great job on that. Thank you so much. Do we have another one? Oh, this is, Dean told me this is her favorite. Okay, what are we going to do with this one? This is really a nice job. This one is from Mary or Margie in Massachusetts. Mary and Margie, Massachusetts. All right, Margie. Okay, so I think Margie's been paying close attention. This is a lovely painting. So we're going to do the tic-tac-toe, or we're going to do the center composition, and you've got nothing in the center that's really drawing the eye. That's pretty good. Little spot of light there, but that's not a big deal. That's nice. And you do the tic-tac-toe board, and guess what? You're right on the horizon there. That's really nice. The question that I have here is from a black and white. Where do you want the eye to go? And what seems to be happening is the eye is going here. And why? Because there's the most light, and there's a contrast. There's a spot of contrast. And I suspect when we see the color, it's going to change things. But the question really is, where do we want the eye to go? The other thing is, this reflection is pretty perfect, and you might look for a way to give this a little bit of streak it out a little bit more, a little sense of reflection, just to soften it up. Take a fan brush or something and soften it up, so you're reflecting the water, but you're also making it feel a little bit more believable because it's a little bit hard-edged, and I think softening that up will do that. When I paint reflections, what I do is I paint this and this all at the same time. I just basically lay my brush strokes in, I do that, then I put my shoreline in, and then I soften, usually put some stuff in here and soften this up. Let's look at the color version. I will tell you that the values are a little hard on this because there's nothing in the front to kind of create perspective. And so your darkest values are in here. But the question becomes, where do we want the eye to go? All right. So again, really, really lovely. But I don't know where the eye wants to go. I know where it wants to go. It wants to go here. And that's okay if that's what you want it to be about. If that's the case, what I would probably do is I would probably bump up this light just a little bit more and maybe make it a little more yellow. Bump it up. I think it's pretty bumped up. Maybe bump it up just a little bit more. But if you're going to have a spot of light, you're going to draw my eye over there, then you probably want to have something that's going to give me eye candy when I get there. So maybe it's, you know, a very unusual spot of orange or something. That all of a sudden makes it a focal point, right? And you can do that. Right now, the eye doesn't know where to go. This is the secondary focal point in here because you've got all this color. And I think really this is where your star is, because you've got some of that great color in there. But I would just bump up that color a little bit more in here. And you know, the nice thing, you've got some really pretty colors in here. And the nice thing about this is that you can really have some fun, get some color in here, and really make this all about the reflections. And then I would darken over here because you don't want as much attention. I would probably look for a way to darken some of this in here, darken this in here so that these things stand out. So you want this tree in here, these trees here, if these are your focal point, you want them to really stand out, get some nice color on them. I do a thing called Fall Color Week, and that's because I live in places where we don't have a lot of fall. And I love to paint fall color. It's really challenging because you're trying to figure out, how do I make the stuff look great and yet mute it back so it doesn't look so garish. But if you just see what I've done here, now you go in here and you start softening up these streaks. I've just laid in color there, but you soften this up quite a bit and it will just read a little better for you. See how that's changing things. So, and now your eye is like, okay, now I know where to go. Now I know where to go. The other thing is, I think your water is pretty strong, but I would consider darkening it, maybe down in here a little bit. Just look for a way that you can just make it just a little bit darker down in here. Maybe that's not dark enough. Okay, you get that strong color against those oranges. That's just so pretty. And I wouldn't do it everywhere, but I just kind of get a sense of, you know, you got a little bit of something going on here and there, and maybe some ripples in the water. If you want to make it believable, put a little spot. I like to put a little spot of light against the edge of the shore. That just kind of makes it believable, and then you can have just a little something here and there. And then if you want, you can go back in with your darks and lay, you know, where the sun is catching something, you can lay a little dark next to that light, makes it a little bit more believable. And then of course, if you wanted to, you could take these ripples and lead the eye back here for a little bit more eye candy. Anyway, that's what I would do with it. And okay, do we have any more? Or are we done? I think we're done. Okay, so I'm going to teach you something here. I call it blocking the exits. All right. So what does that mean? Well, oftentimes when we do a painting, we're making that painting, we're leading the eye out. So here's a very, very simple painting, right? And what's happening here is I'm leading the eye out. Whoa. Something's going on. I've just got to figure out what it is. Okay. So we're leading the eye out here. We're leading the eye out here. We're leading the eye out here, and we're leading the eye out here. And so what you want to do is whenever there's something leading the eye out, you want to, what I call, block the exits. And so how do you do that? Well, let's take a look and see. On this simplified version, I went ahead and did another layer. And So what I did is I blocked the exit here to keep the eye from going out a little bit. I put a big shadow in here, and I made the excuse me, I made the shadow a little bit different where it's on the concrete or on the road. And then the other thing I did is I made the mountains go up at the ends, and something about making mountains go up on the ends that doesn't lead the eye out quite as much. Now, the other option is that you can still block the exit further by putting something else in, so like you could have a tree. I need to put a shadow on that tree. And so you could have a tree that kind of blocks the eye from going out. You could have something here to block the line from going out. But the idea is whatever you're doing is you want to keep the eye out. So let's just invent another one. Let's see what we can invent. Okay. So in the comments, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just go ahead and do this because I don't want to take that time. But I think what we want to do is ask ourselves, what is another composition that we could do that would lead the eye out. So let's see here. We have let's say we have a barn, and we're leading the eye out with the barn, right? So we've got the road in, we've got the barn, and we're leading the eye out with the barn. So what could we do? Well, we could put a little bit of a shadow in there to keep from leading it out. We could put a tree right here. We could put a bush right here. Just look for anywhere where the eye is going out and see what can I do to put something that's going to keep it from going out. So here we got a tree here. And also the other thing, I just did something called a tangent. Let me just teach that real quickly. If you have two things that are meeting in the same place, so let's say your mountain line is meeting here with the top of your roof. Let me just go back and teach this differently. Okay, so let's say your mountain line is going right here. That's tangent. So what you want to do is, instead of making that happen, you want this mountain to be lower behind it, or you want it to be higher so that it's not meeting. And the same thing would be true if you had a horizon line right there with the edge of that house. That would not work. So you want to bring that horizon line down so that it's down here. But you want to look for where are things meeting where they shouldn't be meeting. That's what that's all about. Okay, I think we're done. So I want to tell you guys about a couple of things that have occurred. This is the first time back since right after Christmas that I've been here doing this, or maybe I was here one other time. But a couple of things happened. First off, on January 10th, we did a thing called Art Business Mastery Day, and you can still get the replays of that. And we also started, we have 3 different levels of education on that. We have Art Business Fundamentals, we have Art Business Elite Mastery Group, and we have the Inner Circle Mastermind. These are all different levels for people artists at different levels. Like the Inner Circle Mastermind is $25,000 a year. And so you got to be at a high level to be able to get me teaching you on that high level. Then we have the Art Business Elite Group, which is much less, and so on and so forth. But if you go to artbizmastery.com, take a look at these things and see if there's anything in marketing, and at least, if nothing else, get the replays on the Art Business Mastery Day. I think you'll find them to be helpful. A couple other things. Number one is Valentine's Day is coming up, and I don't need a box of chocolates because, my belly probably is going to get too big if I do that. But I would like to let you know that Valentine's Day is the day that the price increases for the plein air convention. We always have like several hundred people, like on the last day, they're like, I'm going to get in. And then what happens is like, oh, we're sold out. So get ahead of it if you're going to come to the plein air convention and expo in Lake Tahoe. It is going to be, I think it's probably going to be the biggest we've ever done. It's the most beautiful location we've ever done. We're going to be painting in the Sierra Nevadas. We're going to be painting in Virginia City, the old Western town. We're all going to dress up in our Western duds and paint. That's going to be fun. And we have big parties. We have big screen TVs on giant stages, 5 stages. It's an incredible event. And we have a pre-convention workshop with the great Scott Christensen and a pre-convention workshop with the great 𝗍𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗃, who is the world's top watercolor artist, according to many. And so this is going to be one of the best yet. You don't want to miss it. And we won't be back in California or Nevada anytime soon. So if you live in those zones, make sure you come. But people are coming from all over the country. We're going to have a great time. Get signed up before Valentine's Day. And then last but not least, we have Art School Live. Art School Live is not Art School Live, Acrylic Live. Acrylic Live is coming up, and that's got some of the world's leading acrylic people, including now Kevin McPherson, and how he converted to acrylic and why, and how he had to kind of relearn some of the way he paints. Got some really incredible people on that, and it's 3 days plus a 4th Essentials Day. Acrylic Live is coming up in March, and you want to get signed up for that. That's our next big event. We just finished up our Watercolor Live. We've had literally thousands of people on these. And it's really exciting to see people all over the world learning together and growing together. So check that out. We do have a free gift for you. And the free gift is called 97 Incredible Art Secrets from the World's Finest Masters. And you can get it. You can stream it. It's a couple hours of video. It's basically a sample of some of the art instruction videos that we've produced, courses. And so there's a lot of different tips, 97 of them, as a matter of fact. And you can get it at 97artsecrets.com/free. And just you can stream it instantly. Or if you want to pay the shipping, we'll send you a DVD for those of you who still do that. And then we want you to subscribe to this program. Go to YouTube, look up Art School Live, and hit the subscribe button. The goal is to get to 200,000. We're at 139,000. So we got to get to 200,000. That's the next goal. And then we got to get to 1 million. When we get to 1 million, we get another plaque. Okay. That's all. That's all we get. We don't get money. We just get a plaque. But we love having you guys here. And if we can get you painting, if we could teach you to paint, then we're better off. You're better off. We love people learning to paint. And you don't have to have natural talent to do it. You just have to watch 5 videos. It'll give you the confidence. 5 of our shows, it'll give you the confidence that you need to realize, I don't have to have natural talent. I can learn the process. And then you can learn from us. And then if you want, we have in-depth art instruction videos. We have 600 of them from some of the world's leading artists at our site called painttube.tv. And check it out. And it's not .com, it's .tv. So painttube.tv/ASL to get, and we have incredible teachers. We get the world's best, and we do these in-depth, high definition kind of things, and they're really, really good. Some of them are dozens of hours long, some are 3 or 4 hours, but there are all kinds of things to choose if you want a landscape or portrait or otherwise. And we mentioned earlier today, we talked about, some of you were doing portraits. There's some great watercolor portraits. There's some oil portraits. There's all kinds of things. You want to learn landscapes, there's gouache, there's watercolor. So go there to painttube.tv. Well, it's always fun. I love being on Feedback Friday. I hope you enjoyed your time here. And we're here every weekday at 12 noon. We've got demos from artists during the week and art marketing advice on Mondays, Art Marketing Mondays and Feedback Fridays. So thank you again for being a part of my life and for being a part of my family. This is what this is all about. I was writing something last night. It's like we're one big happy family. And we're filled with joy because we're painting, we're doing what we love, we're learning, we're growing, we're meeting people, we're hanging out together, we're coming to conventions together. I've got next week, or on the 9th, I guess, I've got a retreat. It's called Winter Artiscape. I'm going to have a big group of people in St. Augustine, Florida. That's already sold out, but my next one is coming up in the Adirondacks in the spring, and then there's Fall Color Week in the fall. Those are both available, but we're just one big happy family. We hope you'll join our family. Yeah, you can call me Dad. My kids do. All right, see you guys later, and thank you to my producer, Ahmadine. Bye-bye.